Horror Deconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host Comp and
ZOMBI.
today's film is
Zombie 2.
It's also known as Zombie, based on 1979, also known as Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters, and Voodoo. Voodoo.
Yeah, Voodoo seems like a weird one. I didn't hear that one ever.
Voodoo. Sounds like you're excited after you hit the toilet. So, this film is about strangers looking for a woman's father arrive at a tropical island where a doctor desperately searches for the cause and cure of a recent epidemic of the undead. It's directed by Lucio Fulci. Written by Elisa Briganti. Wow, a name so easy and I still fucked it up. So, Danny, this movie, what's it about?
Well, it's about a woman whose father's boat comes floating around, and she's getting investigated because there's a zombie on the boat. So for some reason, they would investigate her. Yeah, I didn't understand that part.
I think they tacked those two scenes on, the beginning and the end. You know, because I think this film was shot in where was it? It was shot. It wasn't shot like in one of those jungle places. It was actually shot near like.
I think it was shot in the Virgin Islands.
Yeah, something like that. And they shot one scene underwater somewhere else, Isla something. I was gonna say Isla Verde, but I don't know where that's like from a movie, Isla Verde, but I don't know why that's coming up in my mind. But they actually added on the first and last scene, the scene where the boat comes to shore in New York City.
Because like if your dad's boat comes ashore and there's a zombie on it, why would you get in trouble for
But
this?
first of all, how did the boat get to New York City just randomly, washing ashore? I mean, that's just like
it went with the flow, man.
That's just like random shit that they. The reason why those two scenes were added on supposedly is because this movie was written before Dawn of the Dead. But after Dawn of the Dead came out, they kind of...
I didn't know that, actually.
They were like, okay, we need to kind of capitalize on this film. And this movie is all the time confused as the Italian sequel to Night of the Living Dead because it's called Zombie 2 and it has absolutely nothing to do with it. It was just producers...
Oh, I thought it was supposed to be the Italian sequle to Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, is that what it is? But it came out...
Yeah.
I thought it came out like around the same... Okay, so maybe that's what it is. But they added... those two scenes to kind of benefit.
The Italian title of Dawn of the Dead is Zombie, just Zombie.
Oh, okay. But this actually...
So then that's why this is Zombie 2.
But this actually has no legal, nothing to do with
Yeah,
it,
no, there's no connection.
It's kind of like when
Troll 2.
It's like when Asylum makes those knockoff movies. Like, they'll make The Age of Hobbits. Right. And then the people...
They're the ones... that did Sharknado, right?
I think so, yeah. But they did the Age of Hobbits. They did a War of the Worlds kind of stuff. They do stuff like that. And then I think the Age of the Hobbits, they almost got sued for it because I think Hobbits.
I'd be curious to see their World War Z. It's probably a lot better.
I can imagine how the Age of Hobbits must look. But apparently that movie, I don't know. The word Hobbits existed before what's his face used it, so I guess they can't really sue them. But it's obvious they were making money off of them. Anyway. So the film starts out with this boat coming aboard, actually just washing ashore near New York City. It's in the harbor. I think that was the Brooklyn Bridge, right? And two cops. I guess the harbor patrol come by, but they're dressed up like New York City cops. I don't know how Harbor Patrol dresses. I assume they dress differently.
They're Italian. They don't understand their ways.
Did you see the part where one of them was flipping a pizza in the air, and the other one had an organ grinder with a little monkey dancing? That was pretty amazing. They were like, "Hey, you! Get up on the boat!" But so and it was so funny. I was like, "How are they gonna address this?" They usually call those ghost ships when ships that just come ashore with nobody in them, which I think is a pretty freaky thing, which has happened in the past. Yeah. And I was like, what if he says ahoy? And they did it. They said ahoy, ahoy. I guess that's just like, I don't know, an old term that's just always used. So the two cops get on top of this ghost ship, which is basically just what kind of boat would you call that? It's just like a little cruise, not a cruise. Schooner? Is that what they call it? Like a schooner?
Yeah. I don't know my boat.
I only know that through Mallrats. It's basically like the same kind of boat we'd see in Triangle. Basically like a boat for like 5...
it's smaller than that.
Oh, yeah? So it's like a boat for 3 people, basically. 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
for two couples to have their Italian sex trysts on. So anyway, this boat watch shore, these two cops get on, and they, one of them goes down under, and he meets the acquaintance of a dead person who resoundingly attacks him. How did that boat get from
get up? I don't know. Maybe the zombie steered it.
Just by random luck or something. There was some kind of Rube Goldberg device that made.
No, maybe that zombie is actually like a pirate or something. We don't know. He retained that part of his personality,
and he knew how to get back to New York City, even though it wasn't her father. Her father got killed. I mean, they shot him in the head, so he wasn't coming back as a zombie. So it was just some other random zombie that took the boat and randomly got back to New York City, where her father lived.
The boat, the zombie had it, imprinted in his zombie DNA to do that. Maybe that was his mission.
Where were they supposedly be, in Africa or something like that? Like one of those Moontu Island or some shit like that. It was some.
I think it's supposed to be like South America or like the Virgin Islands or something, which is like a tropical island.
I see. But the guy just wanted to see New York. He was a zombie that wanted to live the life. He wanted to have like a
he was so tired.
It was
of living 79, in the tropics.
So maybe this was supposed to be like the 80s montage where we see a character.
It's
in
the
New York
Big
City.
Apple.
Yeah, like he was gonna wear, wave an American flag. You just see a dead body just waving an American flag.
It just shows the zombie going on like all the tourist attractions.
Like just those shots where the camera's like static and the person's standing there and the camera's like, playing New York, New York by fucking Frank Sinatra, and he has shades that have the American glasses like emblazoned on and stuff like that.
He's got a picture of him like at the Empire State Building. Like
tap
going
dancing
up
on
the
top
Statue of Liberty.
He's tap dancing in the World Trade Center before it gets destroyed a couple years later. But then it'll do that like that shot where he's like raising his zombified arms in the air, and then it turns into like a bird's eye view where it's far away just to show that he's in New York. And then they'll play some kind of Alicia Keys Jay-Z song. So anyway, with that out of the way, one of the zombie attacks one cop. The other cop comes down and shoots it to death. These zombies are pretty resilient. They go straight for the headshots. And I'm not too aware of how many zombie movies were released. I guess pretty much a lot of zombie movies were released after Night of the Living Dead that this movie could take off the material from there. You know what I mean?
It doesn't really though at all.
What do you mean?
I don't feel like this movie rips off any of George.
No,
Romero's
I mean,
stuff.
oh yeah, no, I mean that, but I mean like keeping the zombie kind of they raise from the ground, they get shot in the head, they don't die any other means. Even the fire kind of doesn't kill them.
Right.
You know, I mean that
Unless
kind of the archetypes of the
brain.
zombie film, right? But there is like a huge thing that bothers me in the middle of this movie. This movie's about an hour and a half long, and it only gets really.
You only see zombies like.
At the last half an hour.
End.
Literally at the last half an hour. Like right when it's about an hour and 29 minutes. There are zombies walking around, shambling around. There is 1-2 attacks in the film. But the last half an hour is when it starts going batshit crazy. So anyway, we see the daughter of the doctor who owned that boat. Actually, at the very beginning, we see a guy shoot a creature that's underneath a wrapping of a zombie. I guess that's somebody that's infected, and they kill him.
The zombie's rapping. He was in New York too. He picked it up.
No, that he would shove a CD in your hand and ask you to buy it off of him, and then he'll write your name on it.
Guilt you with his life story.
And then you listen to the CD, and it's just like roar. It's like that for 2 hours. So anyway,
with like beats over it.
Yeah, you know what? I bet you that shit would sell in Halloween. Anyway, so we find out the daughter of the owner of that boat, who is Tisa Farrow, the actress who plays Anne Bowles, I believe.
Anne Bowles, yeah.
Anne Bowles. This movie is really badly dubbed. It's in the 70s, so they dubbed it with an English cast. It's an Italian film. They said although the Ian McCulloch who plays Peter West, I guess he's a reporter. He's an English actor, and he was also in another film called Zombie Holocaust, which is another kind of, because a lot of those Italian films saw how.
Did Lucio Fulci make that too?
No, that was a different director. But a lot of those Italian films saw how much money these movies were making, so they obviously made a mashup of cannibal Holocaust and zombie movies. And I
I
saw.
wonder if any of these guys were in City of the Living Dead, because I know Lucio Fulci did that.
I wonder. It kind of seems like Lucio kind of just goes where he wants to. Yes, that we should note that Lucio Fulci did this, and he did City of the Living Dead, a movie I actually liked a lot. This one I kind of like, not as much as I like City of the Living Dead. But
Yeah.
is it just me, or did Peter West, who plays the news reporter who lives in New York City as an English accent? Although I guess you
Right.
could do that. I guess you could do that. It's not xenophobia. Didn't he look like didn't he look like Jorah from Game of Thrones to you? I thought I was like, this looks like Jorah, the guy who
Oh, I know
he
Danny's
works for
Knight.
Khaleesi, and he just got
Yeah,
kicked out.
yeah,
Oops,
yeah.
spoilers. He looks like, I was like, that's Jorah. I had to like check
That's not
that.
a spoiler. You find that out in like the first episode. I guess maybe a little bit. Now I'm wanting to look at a picture.
This
of
is
him.
in the 70s when they actually used realistic looking people for films. It kind of seems like in the 60s,
Right.
everybody had this dapper look, from the 40s to the 60s, everybody had looked almost pristine and like nothing was wrong with them. And in this one, in the 70s, it kind of seems like they filmed anybody for a movie. Like if you look at the cast of movies from the set, well, I guess it's from where like the 70s horror
That
film.
guy Brian was like,
He was handsome.
he was like
A hipster.
I don't know, like yeah,
He looked
like he
like
was like the first hipster.
I looked at him and I was like, that guy looks like he was like, I just saw him in the Upper West Side last week. He just looks like one of those handsome, those guys that women will jizz their pants for because he's just walking around and he has a guitar strumming, bullshit like that. But this guy, Peter West, has like a huge balding spot on his head. And he's
Right.
just like, he's a handsome guy too, but he's like this huge balding spot. And that's like basically a no-no in Hollywood these days. Because you know how like people are with their looks and shit like that. The women are
Right.
kind of fine looking. I actually liked the I think it was Susan Barrett, the girl who was the companion of
Oh, I can't stand
Brian?
her.
the one with the short black hair.
The Brian's girlfriend, yeah, the one who goes shark
She's an
diving.
asshole. But she gets naked in the film, so that's okay. But I thought she was
Yeah,
actually
but it
pretty,
did-
and
it
I'm
did
not into
nothing
that.
for
I'm
me.
not into that kind of short hair that she has. It depends on who.
I like short hair on girls, but on her it didn't look good.
Short hair and penises. But she sort of looks like Milo Manara, kind of. I don't know if anybody knows who Milo Manara is. This Italian artist who recently got in trouble for drawing Spider Woman on the front of a.
Oh, you showed me that picture of the
Yeah,
really
it's
sexy
basically,
spider
Spider
with
Woman-
the ass.
Spider Woman is, I guess, the female counterpart of Spider Man, and then she's like crouched over the side of a rooftop, and I guess the pose that she is, because her ass is sticking straight up in the air, and the latex is really tight on her. Then I guess like a lot of the female blogs were like, "This is
You
sexist,"
see like
and
each
I'm like,
butt cheek.
"Huh?"
You see like each individual
Yeah, that's
butt
true.
cheek.
I
like,
mean, that suit was
perfectly.
incredibly tight. You would have to assume the thing was painted on her. I didn't really see a problem with it, but I mean, Marvel hired an erotics comics artist to draw the cover. Like, what did they think was gonna happen? Whatever.
Right.
So anyway, the women look like his type of artwork, though the Italian woman in this film, because he is Italian, so I guess he studied from real life. Anyway, so Peter and Anne kind of hook up, and they want to go, they want to figure out what's going on because her father disappeared in the jungles. I guess he was doing some research over there, and he was hooked up with another doctor named Dr. Menard, who's played by Richard Johnson. And
Right.
we fly back to that jungle. I literally forgot every location in this film. I just know it's a jungle and then New York City, and then for the most part it's New York City.
That's about it. They're in
Yeah,
the
I was
pool the
kind
whole
of
time.
confused because I thought this film would take place in New York City, but they didn't have enough money to shoot in New York City fully as a full film, because they said if you watch the zombies at the very end, that you see
Yeah, the cars.
the cars are just driving because they didn't.
But
stop
I
the
like
traffic.
that
I thought it was
because the
fine
cars
because
make it seem.
it makes you think that the,
the cars
are
make it
driving
seem
out
like
of
they're
town or
running,
something,
you
or
know?
into town. But
Yeah.
anyway, and also, I mean, the poster for the film is really iconic. Basically, if you go to any metal show or you just see anybody random in the street, this shirt is way more prevalent. It's basically the one of the main zombies in the film. It's his face, and he has like one eye
Yeah.
is poked out and one is like full of worms, and his teeth.
What do
are
they call
showing.
them? Worm eye?
What's that?
I think they call them worm eye.
Oh,
Actually.
do they? I didn't see that. And it has the tag phrase "We are going to eat you." It's a really iconic looking poster, and for a cover of the film, it's pretty cool because although that zombie never shows his teeth in the movie at all, so that kind of bummed me out. It's like because you see that zombie in the film, but you never see him open his mouth where his teeth are exposed. And you're like, where's that scene from the movie? Because the poster is obviously
That was his photo shoot.
yeah, it's he's sitting down. He had like a couple of ethnic women. Like
He went to New York City too. He went into some fashion thing, like a a walk sort of thing.
There's a whole behind the
They took
scenes
pictures
shoot
of
with
him.
like young women twerking next to him, and like parts of dust and bones are falling off him while they're doing it so close to him. So Peter and Anne decide to take a trip off to that jungle island, which I can't remember the name of, and they run into. Well, actually, they run in. They need to get from point A to point B, so they get to this port.
Brian and Susan. Now, would you do that for complete strangers
Absolutely
in this day and
not.
age?
I couldn't give a shit less if somebody. Because
I would say I would charge them money at least
I guess.
or something.
Well, Danny, you know that's your background. But
Yeah.
they meet this couple, Brian. That sounded very anti-Semitic, even though that's not what I meant. They meet Brian and Susan, a couple that
That is
very
exactly what
very hipster, and one of them looks like a starfucker, which would be Susan. For a moment there, I thought
she's so annoying.
I thought Susan was gonna hook up with Peter just because he was looking at her lustily. But that's all those that's all those European. I just assume all the European fuck each other. They just like want
she's
to.
just like Susan is really annoying. There's something about
What
her.
what
if
her
I
annoyed
saw her
her?
in real life, I would hate her.
What annoyed you about her? Because she acted like every woman in this film is basically useless in the movie. Every woman they literally.
Anna isn't.
What did she
Anna
do?
does stuff.
You mean when she saw
I
that?
mean,
when she saw the
she has a
bigger zombie come up
personality,
to her,
at
she
least.
just stood in her space. She just froze. She didn't do anything.
She at least has a personality outside of the being useless with the zombies.
What's her personality?
Susan's
I
like,
gotta find my dad.
She's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's nice. Like, she's friendly. Susan's not
The fucking
friendly.
way.
Susan's
Every woman in this film, they wrote them horribly because the women did nothing.
the nurse is like the worst actress I've ever seen.
Really? Yeah. I didn't even pick up on her because she just seemed
You
like
gotta
not in the
you gotta
room.
rewatch her scene. There's a part where she, where the zombies coming at her later in the film, and her reaction. I've never seen such a bad reaction. Like, it's horrible. It's horrible.
She just kind of
like,
seemed stone-faced. Like she just seemed like.
No, she's like.
But that could be the voice. That could have been the voice acting. We're literally thinking about the voice acting that the people are doing over them. So.
That's true, actually. That's true. Well, then the dubber is horrible. I mean, like, but with her face in that, it looked like almost like a Weird Al sort of mockery or something.
But we quickly cut to Dr. Menard, a character that I thought was her father for a second. He's just like this frazzled doctor that's doing research on. He's wondering why all these people are getting sick in this area. They're just dropping dead, and there's like a local legend that's saying maybe it's voodoo, that something's going on.
And he's got a horrible wife too. Yeah, another bad character.
Oh, his wife.
Oh yeah, I guess Lucio doesn't know how to write women or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
like, he makes them all obnoxious.
He's probably there with that. Those pilot pants, and he had a big hat on. And he had one of those old, all those cones that you yelled through as a director. But it was like, and I bet you like the female actresses would come up to him and be like, "Oh, what should I do for this scene?" And he goes, "Hey, shut the fuck up!" And then he just films the movie. And then,
only speak when spoken to.
Hey, are you talking? Why you not in the kitchen for me?
Know your place, a woman. It's a me, Lucio.
And then he climbed up a succession of stairs when a gorilla was throwing barrels at him. So, so Dr. Menard is there with his wife, played by Olga Carlatos, who's a very pretty woman. She's just called Mrs. Menard, so that shows you how much they give a shit. She's upset.
She is so high strung. Like,
wants
it says that in the Wikipedia, actually. It's so true.
She's the only one that's right. She wants to get the fuck out of here.
No, she's right. She's totally right. But her attitude is like so. Even in that situation, her attitude is so over the top. Like, I don't know. She should just leave.
I don't think she's scared of anything. Like, there's monsters. She just wants to get off the island. I think her reason for leaving is she's bored. She's getting sick of living on this island. Because I don't think she's exposed to any dead bodies. She's living in a pretty big hut, wherever the fuck they're living.
Well, she'll be exposed soon enough.
Yeah, literally. We do see her showering later and then gets attacked by a zombie in a pretty brutal sequence. That even I had seen that sequence before, but then I saw it now in context, and I was like, yikes. I was like, that's pretty horrible.
Yeah, it's painful.
The gore in this movie is really good. I mean, that's probably the best part of this film, is that the gore
and the shark scene is awesome.
Yeah, that was shot elsewhere. and that was shot with a shark trainer. So that's how that zombie could fuck around with the. Because I was thinking, because you know how many shots it takes to be underwater, and then
Wait,
holding
so
your
you could
breath.
train a shark?
I guess I don't know. I mean,
I kind of thought it was like a puppet or something. I didn't think that was a real.
Maybe for some close-ups, but for some parts, there's a part where he tears something off the shark and there's blood flying everywhere. I was like, did they literally kill a shark for the movie? But then
They could have in 1979.
I guess, because I mean, they did that with fucking Cannibal Holocaust with cutting off turtle heads and sticking knives through rats and shit like that. But in this one, I guess they didn't, because in the very next shot, the shark is still. But I mean, you know, it isn't shot in succession each scene, and there's
well, that part could have been that blood part could have been a
capsule or something
rubber...
burst in his hand or something. But you see him tear away something from the shark and eating it. And then the next shot, the shark is like just swimming in the water normally, so it's like not very good for editing in that scene. But anyway, that is a pretty cool scene, because what happens is the wife of the guy who owns the boat jumps into the water. I guess she's the wife of the girlfriend. She jumps into the water. She has to get naked, and I was very surprised she didn't have a giant '70s bush in her underwear, because it's the
I would
70s.
think on her there would be that.
Yeah, she's very, and
don't you don't find her annoying? I don't know.
I found her attractive. I didn't give a shit. I thought everybody was annoying. Well, all the women in the movie, they just didn't write them. They just were kind of like the background. They were just like, oh, screaming, and they would.
Well, they didn't write even half the men, like Brian.
Yeah, no, I mean,
really
this is a movie where you don't give a shit about the guy. I didn't care about the guys either. I like the boat.
I like Peter.
Oh, you did? I like the boat
boat
owner. I didn't give a shit about Peter that much. He was kind of an idiot. There's no real like motivation behind the cat. There is a motivation for them to find her father and see what's going on, and then Peter's trying to break this big story, because he's just a news reporter. He doesn't really give a shit about her father or anything like that. He's just coming back to figure out what's going on in this island because of that zombie body that was in the boat in New York City. That's what he's following, and they team up. I like how their story when they first meet. And they're in her father's boat, and they're trying to find an excuse for the cops not to arrest them, so they're just having random makeout sex in the thing. Nowadays, she would have like written to Gawker and said that he molested her, and then they would have like exposed him, and then he would never be able to work again. It's kind of like right now. Recently, there's a guy named Hannibal Buress who's a comedian, and he did a set where he was pissed off at Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby's telling people how to be the moral authority, but a lot of things that people forget is like in the mid-2000s, there's that a lot of like 6 or 7 separate women, reported that Bill Cosby had, sexually assaulted them from the 70s to whenever.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like
in his sweater vest.
His Coogee sweaters. Like, let me show you something right here. But I forgot what somebody said that. It was which comedian said it, but they were like, he was showing them his Fat Albert. That was pretty funny. Anyway,
oh jeez,
I don't know how we get onto that. So anyway, she jumps into the water. She sees a shark. She rightfully so shits a brick under the water, and then she gets attacked by a man under the water who's just randomly under the water.
She's having a bad dive.
Yeah, that's pretty
bad. She thought she
bad.
was gonna look at fish or something.
And it's a zombie of a white guy, so I don't understand how that happened. And he's attacking her, but then the zombie.
I wouldn't be scared. I would ask it for directions.
So the zombie starts fighting the shark, trying to eat the shark, and the shark bites off its arm, which is pretty cool. And it has green blood. I don't know why that is, but it just has green blood. She swims back to the boat, and they're like, let's get the fuck out of here. They end up finding the island. End up there, they meet Dr. Menard, who tells them, come back, go to my house while I'm taking care of business here, because a lot of people are just getting more and more infected. And I like what... There's a certain look with European horror films, like Italian kind of trashy, not trashy cinema, but Italian horror. Let's say that. Much like the Giallo films or these zombie films, that they give you a scope and they give you a sense of the world around them, even if it's not anything that's completely interesting plot-wise. But there'll be shots that, and I was watching it on YouTube. You can actually find it on YouTube because I was looking for the movie. I couldn't find it anywhere. And I found it on YouTube called Zombie Flesh Eaters, which is one of the names of it. And there was a guy writing captions for the movie, while the movie went on. I can imagine him, with whoever the fuck this YouTube owner was, just writing these notes down just so he could show it to us, people watching, and go, oh, you can. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm just watching the movie. I don't want to see these words pop up. But thankful for him anyway putting this up. And he put...
Like subtitles?
No, he'll just put... you'll see cartoon bubbles pop up. that says
like his
thought.
own
Yeah, it only
thoughts.
happens twice, but it was still something that like stuck to me. And he says, "I like how the setting up of the scene, because there was a scene where they show the desert. I mean, not the desert, the town where Dr. Menard is staying, and it's just like it's just a windy town. It's the town looks dead." And you see like a fucking sagebrush flying by, and there's like chickens walking around it, but it just looks absolutely decimated.
Right.
And the Lucio Fulci, most like any of those kind of directors, that they knew how to shoot a scene that gave you some sort of feeling of the overall mentality of the movie and how dark it is, and it feels dreadful.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
he did that really good with City of the Living
Yeah,
Dead.
City of the Living
That's
Dead,
what
but
it feels like.
City of the Living Dead, they kind of got to it. This one, they're trying to stack a lot of plot into it, and which leaves the zombie fighting until the last half an hour of the movie. Like, I would have loved to seen an hour full of them, smashing zombies and shit like that, because the gore here is really good. You know what I mean? There's the thing that I laughed at the most is the part where they're all trapped in the house at the end of the doctor's residence, and a zombie's climbing through the window. The boat owner hits the zombie right in the face with a shovel. And the zombie like comically gets knocked out, and then just kind of slumps over in the window, and then the boat owner takes the fucking, I don't know if it was a knife or it was the same shovel, and he just splits the zombie right, like his head in half, and it was like really gruesome. I mean, like even I was like, oh shit, because they cut it so well that hits him right over the head, his brains fall off of his fucking head, and then it cuts back to the actor actually, in the same frame. And then the zombie just kind of falls out the window. I couldn't stop laughing because anytime somebody gets hit in the head with a shovel, it's like funny. It happens in real life. You know what I mean? I remember one of the first things I ever saw, like whenever you first saw, like when you first saw the internet, what was like the worst? Do you remember like the worst thing you've ever seen?
The first time I saw someone get. No, I don't even want to talk about it.
Oh, go ahead. Who cares?
So like some senator killed himself.
Oh, Bud Dwyer when he shoots himself in the mouth. Yeah, that's the I think that's probably the heaviest and worst thing you can ever see, even if it's like the.
Yeah, there used to be this website called Consumption Junction.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think I forgot which site I saw, but
there was another one called like Strange Land or.
I'm going to talk
something
about
like
three.
That. Not like the movie, but
I think three. Maybe the first one. First site I ever saw that something gory like that was called Dan's Gallery of the Grotesque, and they just had a shot. They were like, hey, give us a caption for this website, and it's like for this photo for the fun flag. So it was a contest, and it was just like like obviously a black man, I guess, who died in his apartment, but he bloated, and it was just I was like, why am I looking at this?
Oh no!
Somebody called it heat. I'm like, oh, that's really impressive. But anyway, the shovel thing that I saw was I guess it was like the funny clip, and it was a kid sitting down, and some kid just walks behind him and hits him over the head cartoonishly with the shovel, but it was real. And he goes bonk, and the guy's like, oh, and it just cuts off after that. That's a great fucking clip. Anybody can find that online. The only other clip that I thought
those types of websites are like
I know, but this is like
one where
this is like in the early 2000s, late 90s. So I was like, whoa, and it's like when you see that, you're like, what the fuck am I saying? Like you think about that for hours after.
They kicked a guy down a
I was gonna say that one. Is that the Chinese one? Yeah, that was in the chat.
Yeah, they kicked him down a set of bleachers. Like, it was
the
horrible.
Funniest clip, because basically what the story was, I guess there's some kind of soccer game. I don't know what game they were watching in China. It was like an Asian area, and one guy stands up in front of the other one. Because I never knew why he stood up in front of him, but I guess they had an argument, and the other one's kind of blocking his way, and they were like on bleachers that are descending. That guy sitting in the foreground just kicks the guy in the middle of his back.
It's
and
horrible.
he launches down the fucking bleachers. Like it looks like he's spinning, almost like he's breakdancing down the bleachers on his face.
Oh, by the way, did you just hear all that noise a second ago?
No, I don't hear that. But anyway, why, is there something happening outside where you are?
No, an alarm went off.
No, it's fine.
It was like really loud in my ear.
No, it's fine. But yeah, so anybody looks that up, that's great. Anyway, back to the film. The movie, I think, takes way too long to. I mean, there are zombie stuff that is peppered, and the zombies look good in the movie. There's a shot where there's a zombie.
No, there's a lot of downtime.
There's a lot of downtime. The zombies don't open their eyes for some reason in this movie. They just kind of walk around like I don't know why. I just did it in my room because nobody would see that. And but like the zombies just walk around with their eyes closed. And there's a shot of one of the zombies walking through the desolated town, and his eyes are closed, and it's really like disturbing looking to me. But there's a bit of downtime in this film that you kind of they're trying to let you in on a plot, and you're trying to figure out who these characters are. I can give a shit less who the characters are. I wanted to see them, the archetype. Like you'll care about characters in Dawn of the Dead.
I just wish the characters were less annoying. Like, you know, I'm so happy when the wife gets stabbed through the eye.
Yeah,
I'm so
it's a pretty
Susan
infamous
does.
special effect where a zombie she's trying to blockade this door that a zombie's broken into her house, and the zombie crashes through the why do you think zombies are so, but I guess it's because she's a woman in the film and they made her weaker for some reason.
They could just tell that she's annoying.
And it gives
they
them
wanna make
super
her
annoying
pay.
killing powers. But because the men are able to fight the zombies off for the most part, but the women, they're like, I don't think it would take much.
That nurse scene, you gotta watch that again. Like, anybody listening to this, go rewatch that nurse scene. It's like the worst acting I've ever seen, and she's hot too.
Yeah,
so it's like a shame.
she's hot.
Like,
I think the women would have enough upper body strength to fucking push off a corpse. And the thing that bothered me honestly about the zombies in one part. There's a part they don't explain why the zombies are coming back. They don't explain. I don't know, because it's a curse or something. They don't really go.
I think it's like a voodoo thing.
Okay, so but they never cut to some random voodoo person, so they kind of leave it up to, I guess, whoever's watching it, what their idea is.
Right.
But they're at a graveyard for conquistadors. Now let me see this. This is like the 1970s. This is like 1970. Let's say it's 1978 when they filmed this movie, right? And conquistadors, I guess, would be hundreds of years before that, but they still have fully formed zombie bodies to climb out of the fucking ground. Like, I'm like, how would they still have bodies? Like, they would be dust. You know what I mean?
They'd be skeletons. Dust. Yeah. Dusty skeletons.
Because there's this long, drawn-out scene where the boat guy and his girlfriend are there, and the boat girl looks, and you thinking, oh, there's a zombie behind her, but she's just looking at a gravestone with a cross on it, and I'm like, okay, who gives a shit? Like, it's a graveyard. Then it comes back to her, and you're waiting for, like, I don't think it's an intentional false scare, like if there's gonna be something hiding, you know, to the right or the left. But they only do that for like the Dr. Menard when he gets his face bitten. But you'll see that like this used to be for the conquistadors. And it's so funny how he found a Spanish conquistador helmet just like on the ground, like nobody ever saw that. I would understand if that was underneath the ground, but not on top of the ground. And then they start coming out. Like, I mean, these are...
Well, the ground is all, like, moving around because they're fucking under there, you know? Maybe it got pushed
So the zombies just push their way out of the ground, but they're still fully formed. Like, they're almost like mummified.
Yeah, like, at that point, they definitely wouldn't have muscles or anything to... They wouldn't be mummified either. They're under the ground.
Yeah, I know. They would have been
maggots.
And you got to think it's like some.
Do you think maggots could turn into zombies from eating the zombies? You know?
I don't know.
And then there'd be like fly zombies.
They happen to dogs and stuff like that. Anyway, a lot of shit happens in this film where the violence is really good. The main characters are kind of passable. The main character Peter gets he twists his ankle inside of a car wreck because they hit a zombie in the road. And then the zombie grabs his foot, and I guess it grabs it so hard that a piece of the flesh comes off. And I thought he was going to turn into a zombie, but unfortunately the boat guy turns into a zombie instead. And
and that guy doesn't even give a shit that his girlfriend dies. Like, he barely cares, Brian, like that Susan does.
What are you talking about? I thought he was like, he stopped her and he started crying for her, and then he let her bite him.
For like a second, but like, I don't know, his reaction, he's a bad actor.
Oh, okay. I thought the opposite, but you know, whatever. Yeah, I mean,
I got the sense that it was just like almost doing it to impress Peter. Like, look, see, I care or something.
Really,
like
I thought
I'm not like a complete megalomaniac. I care that my girlfriend.
Yeah, the guys they end up having a last stand inside of the doctor's building where the zombies keep coming in, and they decide to throw fire bombs at them, like in a mostly wooden shack. Like I don't know, and they're throwing them,
and they're really bad.
Yeah, they're throwing it really
like,
weak. I think they did that because they didn't want to accidentally hit the crew that's filming the movie and set them on fire. So that's why they're kind of throwing these weak throws, and you can obviously see they couldn't fake it for some reason when they're throwing it towards the camera. They kind of just throw it. They toss it like 2 feet in front of them, but then it ends up.
Yeah.
But
it's like they're gonna like see the fire and back away. No, like hit.
Yeah,
them.
I know. That's
What are
you're
you
supposed
doing?
to throw fire at the zombies that explode.
Fucking chuck it like full strength at their head.
Yeah, I
and
think they
stuff.
just did that
What
because
are
they
you
didn't want to hit
doing?
that was the only time where Fulci was like, "We don't hit the cameras, hit the crew, but not at the cameras." And but I enjoyed the film. I don't think it's the be all end all of zombie movies because a lot of people say, "Oh, this is better than such and such and such." You know, I still think probably as for a classic film, it's probably still Dawn of the Dead.
When it probably first came out, it was probably
Oh, yeah,
awesome.
no, I
It's
mean,
a good
this-
alternative to Romero.
Yeah, the
you know?
gore is comparable to Dawn of the Dead, where it might be even better, the gore wise, to Dawn of the Dead. But I mean, there's a part where the guy gets
And it's like a
ripped apart.
totally different.
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah. Like here,
it's like its
here
own
you can
thing.
totally feel it's exploitative, whereas opposed to Dawn of the Dead, it's more like horrific, like yikes. You know what I mean? Here, it's more like yee. You know, it's supposed to gross you out, and it's like the Jerry Springer of horror films.
So one is yikes and one is
Yeah, but anyway, I think it's worth watching. It does take a long time to get to the zombies. Obviously, it's an hour before you can actually see the whole zombie shit hit the fan.
You do get to see a shark fight in the middle.
Yeah, but Lucio Fulci did a
so
good
that's
job with tone and feeling of the film. They still have that one goddamn song that they keep playing, that Barbados kind of music that plays whenever they're on that boat. It's like ding 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 ding, and I was like, oh Jesus, this song's gonna get stuck in my head. But anyway, other than that, I think it's a pretty good film. I don't think it's the greatest zombie film. There's great gore effects, good posters, pretty iconic, and
What are you gonna,
it doesn't hurt
what are
to
you gonna
watch
give
it.
it.
I'll give it a. I was gonna say an 8, but I'll most likely give it. I'll give it an 8. An 8 out of 10. Living the European life and getting naked in front of these two strangers you've met, just so you can go look and take photos underwater.
Okay, I'm gonna give it. I'll agree with you. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Being really annoying and getting what you deserve by having a fucking spike driven into your eye.
There you go. And with that, what's the final word? Or Danny, what's the final word?
Bebop.
The horror deconstruction.